Hi, welcome back to First Connect at First Baptist Church. This is a bridge from one Sunday to the next, just making some connections with what's going on in the life of our church family. I'm Lance Brewer, and this is
David Powell.
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
I'm still here.
Hey, I'm David Powell. I'm the student minister. I'm just so used to from yesterday.
Oh, that's what it is.
We did worship wearing these things actually yesterday.
I don't know if I'll get used to them.
I don't know if I can get used to this either. I actually specifically. So I was on duty yesterday. I was gonna be going up and down from the platform,
yes,
welcoming and praying.
You did.
And what's the other thing we do up there?
Leading
the scripture readings. That little thing. So I knew I wanted a mask that would come on and off easily. I got this actually for my children. This is actually, if you can see, this is actually
Dave.
kitty cats.
Did not realize. Dave's got such a commanding voice, but such a sensitive side to him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Lover and fighter both.
There you go.
So I definitely wore this inside out at all times.
All times. Well, I'm glad you did.
Interesting experience. I have not been through that before.
Well, for sure. Well, hey, here at First Connect, we want you to meet some people along the way as we do this. So every week we want to introduce to you some folks in the way of an interview. And so here at the end of the show, about the last 10 minutes, there'll be an interview with 3 of our tech crew folks that help make things happen for our worship service. And so we got to meet them, get to know, well, we didn't meet them, we know them, but we got to know them a little bit better, find out some things about them. You'll get a little bit more info about what they do, but I want to, in a way of introducing them to you, I want to see how well Dave thinks he knows these 3 people.
Well, Vaughn Skinner. Kevin Carpenter. Julia Denher.
Ding,
nailed it.
Okay, so you got their names. Yeah, congratulations,
nailed
you know their names. But let's see if you know a few more things about them. So I'm going to give you these headphones. So here in a second,
okay.
I videotaped them answering some questions, biographical trivia type questions.
Okay.
And we're going to see if you can. I'll give the question here in a second. You'll have to give the answer, and then we'll play their answers as well. So let me get my questions out for you. So Vaughn Skinner, Kevin Carpenter, Julie Denherder.
Okay.
Well, here's question number 1. All right, question number 1 is: I can't even read my own handwriting, folks. Who has been a member of Facebook the longest? Okay, so we're doing a lot of social media things. Facebook's a big part of that. So who's been a member of Facebook the longest? Vaughn Skinner, Kevin Carpenter, Julie Denherder. All right.
All right. I have been a member of Facebook a lot longer than all of them for sure, because I was in college when it came out.
Okay. So you think you got a beat? All right. Let's see. When was that for you?
Like 05 or so. I got onto Facebook.
Okay.
Oh goodness.
All right. Well, give me a guess.
I'm gonna go with Vaughn Skinner.
All right. You're gonna go with Vaughn Skinner.
No. I'm Kevin Carpenter.
Nope, Kevin Carpenter?
Kevin Carpenter.
Final answer?
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we've got.
2008. Mm-hmm.
Member is a very strong term for the way I treat Facebook. I am at best a lurker, but probably, I don't know. It was in the 2007 range when I joined up with Facebook.
12, 13, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I don't know, something like that. A little bit ago.
That was pretty good.
That was close.
There. So you got that. You managed to pull that one in there. And all Kevin Carpenter, he started in some early years there as well.
Right.
He wasn't obviously in college
at
this time. So question number 2. So you got one
okay.
down. Question number 2 is, when you think about these folks, again, what would be their favorite vacation activity? Favorite vacation activity. So on vacation, but what's the activity that they enjoy doing? I'm going to give you 4 options.
Okay. Now, who is this for? All of them?
So you got to
So
tell me.
they're picking from the 4.
You got to tell me real quickly what you think there are.
Okay.
I'm going to give 4 options. You tell me which one belongs to who, and then we'll listen.
Okay.
So activity number 1 that you got to decide from who this one might go with. Toes in the sand.
Okay.
Favorite activity. Activity number 2, hiking. Activity number 3, being at the lake. Activity number 4, cross-country road trip.
Oh.
All right, so what about Vaughn, Kevin, Julia?
Vaughn is hiking.
Vaughn's hiking, okay.
I'm going to say toes in the sand would be Julia.
Toes in the sand, Julia.
And, man, Kev, he feels like a lake guy to me.
Okay, so here's my rule. You got to be 3 for 3 on this to count. For it to count, because one question.
All right.
3 for 3.
Okay.
So
okay.
Vaughn was hiking.
Yes. Julia's toes in the sand.
Julia's toes in the sand, and
lake is Kevin.
Lake is Kevin. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Here we go. Question number 2.
I would say that favorite things to do might be climbing 14ers. I've climbed 6, and my wife Jane and I have done that.
Get with
But
Vaughn.
that's so brutal. That's probably not my favorite, but I really enjoy that. But the regular trails around Estes Park area are stunning.
Yes.
My favorite vacation was probably, I love hiking and
She was hiking too.
we went to Mammoth
Tricky,
Cave
I know. A
in
little
Bowling
tricky
Green,
with you.
Kentucky.
Mhm.
Okay.
Super cool.
That's not cool.
Okay, great.
Hey, I just
So
said
it's
you
really
84
general
options. You had to
because
decide.
I can't recall that we've ever gone
And
back
we
to
got
the same
Kevin
place
right
twice,
here,
to be honest with
Mr.
you.
Toes in the sand.
But any place with a beach,
And all.
and
So,
water, and palm trees
all right.
would make sense
That's
for
okay.
us.
Okay.
You're all right.
More of a soft,
So-
sensitive side to Kevin than I realized
more
about
soft-sensitive
him.
side. His
Wow.
wife might have something to do with that,
Wow.
but for sure. So that was question number 2. So you're 1 for 2.
Okay.
And all shooting 500. 500's not bad for a
It's
baseball
not bad.
player.
It's
All
terrible
right.
with free throws.
Third question.
But we'll go with batting
Here you
average.
go. Third question is which of these 3
Okay.
has a 21-year gap from youngest to oldest in their siblings?
Youngest to oldest.
So which of these 3 has a 21-year gap from youngest to oldest in their siblings?
That would be the den herders because the oldest den herder, Dylan,
Okay.
is my age.
Oh my, he's pretty confident. He's pretty confident about that. Let's see what we got here. We'll hear all their stories about their families. Okay.
Siblings,
Steve's right.
2 older brothers. My brother Steve is 7 years older than I, and Doug is 13, and I'm not doing the math.
I've got a brother and a sister. A brother that's 3 years younger. I call him my younger brother instead of my little brother because he's like 6'4", and
Maybe looking
he's
promising?
a nice, healthy fella.
Surprising.
He's been a blessing to have, and my sister is Kathleen, and my brother is Sydney. So.
Okay.
I have 5 siblings.
Okay. Tell me, who are they?
So I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. My oldest brother is 32 and has 2 children of his own. So I became an aunt when I was 9 years old, I think. And then I have a brother who is 31. A brother, their names are Dylan and Patrick.
Okay.
And my brother Garrett, who is 25.
Okay, we're going to talk about this in a
6,
second.
something, I don't know. And then my younger sister Neely, who is 17, and my brother Henry, who
guys do
is
some math?
11.
No.
Uh-huh.
Here's the thing. I told you I know these people.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I know Julia better than she knows herself.
Oh, okay.
Dylan is older than 32.
Oh,
Uh,
that may be true.
because we
you
are the
heard it from
same
the horse's
age,
mouth.
and he is 36.
Oh, well, there you go. I was just doing the math from what she told me.
I feel like that's bonus points.
I feel, okay. So we had 3 questions.
Because I went to college with
The
him,
first
so it
question you
wasn't
definitely
fair.
got right.
Right.
The second question you failed on.
Yes.
The third question you got it right, and you want bonus for it.
I want bonus because I actually know how old Dylan is because we're the same
Well,
age.
Even
I
if
went to college
even
with
if
him.
I give you a bonus, you can't get 100% right because you
Okay.
missed one of the questions.
Okay, fine.
But
Fine.
you knew more than you didn't.
Okay.
About
take
these
it.
folks. So congratulations on that. You're going to get to hear a little bit more from these 3 as well. You know, Von Skinner, he's been a member of our church for 30 years. Here, he's got 2 kiddos, 3 grandkids. He has 3 grandkids. 2 that are with us. Grandkids, and all. 3 that are here, 2 that are here active, 1 that's on the way. So he's expecting his 3rd grandchild as well. Kevin and Sue, they've been married since 1990. They got married. Now I got 2 boys here in the area as well, 2 adult boys. Julia, you heard about her story there. She's a college student here and taking care of stuff for her. So you'll get to hear from them. Here in just a little
That's
bit.
fun.
So, what else we
putting
got?
that together? Yeah, man. Just talking about what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
And I will start.
Homefront.
This has been a big birthday weekend, I think, for both of us actually. But my birthday was last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Turned 36, like Dylan Dinherder.
Dylan Dinherder.
Actually, today, as we film this, is on Monday, the 18th. My little guy John is 3 years old. That's our youngest today. So it's been all birthdays for us. I can't wait to get home and find out what we planned for John's birthday. That's
I've had those.
that's kind of how that runs
those
in my
planning parties in
household.
my house, too.
That my wife Erica does things up really well.
She's
and
a champ.
really great with these celebrations. So I'm looking forward to that. Last week up here at the church parking lot, she did the same thing.
Yeah.
Big surprise to me. We were 5 minutes into, I'm not going to lie, what was a failing webcast that we were doing.
You and Joe, your intern.
The Joe cast on Wednesday nights with our students. Like our video was getting all choppy and stuff. And Joe just said, you know what, let's turn this off. And I was like, what are we doing? And then he turned it off and he said, come with me. Led me out to the parking lot where Erica had hit up a whole bunch of our students. About 25 of our students made it up there.
Yeah.
Trying to stay reasonably spaced, but just to say happy birthday. And that was really cool. You haven't, in youth ministry, you haven't really seen your youth group in 2 months. Yeah. That was really cool. Yeah. So really enjoyed that. How about you guys?
We had a birthday as well in our house this past week on Sunday. Kelsey, our youngest, she turned 19.
Youngest?
Yeah, it's my youngest. Yeah. I know. I've got some olders. From 3 to your youngest to my 19. So I'm holding well. I get it. So we celebrated a birthday party, and one of her good friends treated her well and did one of those kind of drive-by parades, and they camped out in the front yard for about 30 minutes.
Well, I'm still doing the math here. Like, Missy is a really young mother, right? Really young mother. Gotcha.
Yes.
There's a big, separation.
Contrary to Kelsey's dad.
I'm sorry.
Not looking so young.
I'm sorry. Right.
I get it. Thanks for that. Dave prides himself on being the youngest staff member, ministerial staff member here on staff, and also we are not wanting to get rid of anybody, but we sure like to hire somebody younger, so he's no longer that as well. So that's kind of a big deal. Austin, our son, and Kelsey are both waiting for summer camps to start. They are both going to be counselors at different Christian summer camps. It looks like things are moving forward at this point, so hopefully that can happen. But Austin right now is gainfully employed for the day with your dad.
That's right.
Your dad has got some
building
work.
Building a fence, man.
Yep. So he put some young men to work, and so my son is out there doing that. So here we are. That's what's kind of happening.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a big week around First Baptist this week. Obviously, big news is we went back to in-person, physical worship at this point, not just virtual.
Yeah.
It's exciting, but Sunday didn't start all that exciting.
Yeah, there's some struggles.
Man, there were some struggles. Actually, I'll go in reverse here. Actually, Sunday night, if you're watching Engage, which is recorded on Thursdays.
Yeah.
If you were watching last night, there was a fun moment right at the end of the first song. We were just rewatching it just a little while back. When I'm stepping away from the microphone, I'm playing my guitar, leading worship actually with your wife, who's singing, doing an awesome job. I'm playing, backing up. All of a sudden, I back over my cable, and I just about lose it.
Yeah.
You might look for that moment in there. Yeah. It's toward the end of the first song. You are here.
What's funny is that you did that, and if you hadn't have grinned for like 20 seconds afterwards, nobody would have known.
I have no poker face. A little inside story from, I think it was the week before. Jared Ruff and I were leading together, two dudes, similar voices, both playing acoustic guitars. And we were getting through our set, and I think it was around the end of the first song there, when all of a sudden, Joel Faulkner, pastor's son, who I used to have as a student, just comes into the sanctuary and just walks straight across the front there. And I was assuming
in the shot.
He was in the shot. But it turns out he was just out. But my face, I have no poker face. Yeah. I was just dying laughing through this. Jared sees it later and is laughing all through this.
Yeah, he kind of embraced that holy laughter movement.
It's the perils of leading worship. There's so many things that happen. You can ask Mike about this anytime. Anybody that leads worship, like all this stuff is going on. You're just trying to hold it together. Try not to get in people's way, not to be a hindrance in worship.
Yeah. The Engage service was incredible. If you haven't watched it, you may
check it out. Tune
into it. But perils.
Yesterday morning.
Oh boy.
We've been doing Zoom Sunday school for about 6 or 7 weeks. We do it. The college group does it. We being the youth. We do it. The college does it. And it's go time. We've moved back from 9:15 to 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And so I'm hitting start and like, good. The first person's here. I admit, joining. And nobody can get in.
It froze up.
They're all stuck in the waiting room. I'm checking in with Josh across the hall, and the same thing is happening there. Yeah. And we all in all, what seems to have happened is we broke Zoom.
Congratulations.
Here's the deal. The American church has so embraced this, and it's like all doing the Sunday school hour together at the same time. on Zoom to the point that the platform can't hold it.
Yeah, we got a couple of adult Sunday school classes that will do that as well. I haven't touched base with them, but I'm assuming the same thing happened to them.
I'm curious about that. So we were Googling, like, what's going on? There's this massive, there's this huge spike as you're coming into like Sunday morning worship time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, what in the world happened? And it just reminds me that like non-church America
they don't know
has no idea how many of us there are.
Yeah.
And like the way that I'm telling you, when we first stepped into virtual worship and stuff, it was I think week number 2. I was trying to do YouTube live, and I was trying to get on, and it wouldn't let me. We were breaking YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I heard from other youth pastors also couldn't use YouTube live that day. They had to downgrade everybody from HD down to SD just to be able to do it. So
So take notice, America.
Oh my goodness.
We Christians know how to use Zoom.
Yes, absolutely. So
sure.
it's been an interesting. It's an interesting Sunday.
Yeah, it has. Real interesting. Back into worship.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
the theme feels like masks.
Yep.
In a sense, we are masking. We're asking people to wear masks in the worship service. And so that's, we kind of joked about it earlier.
Right.
You feeling, kind of gotten used to it. Not really.
Right.
The idea of putting masks on, trying to sing. It was, I had somebody at the beginning of the worship services, before it started, people were gathering in, and so we're all trying to respect each other's space and keep the distancing there, talking from a pew or two away from each other. And I visited with, I was talking to the Smileys for a second. They were all lined up there, and I've got my mask on, and I walk up, and I finally get close enough, and I say something, and Mom says, "Oh, it's Lance. You had a mask
She didn't
on."
even know.
No, so I feel like I'm a
hilarious,
superhero
man.
now going to church because I have a mask.
Well, this is one of those days when I was doing the welcome, and which is one of those, especially now when we've been just talking to the camera that's at the very back. It is like it's like the most intimidating thing in the world to me that I do in the course of a Sunday.
Okay.
I would rather be up there leading a song. I would rather be up there preaching, but like just needing to just say hi to people and welcome them to church. For some reason, I just start stumbling over my words, and it's like I can't feel my hands. Josh, when he does it, drives me nuts.
Mr. Smooth.
Because it's always so smooth.
Dr.
It's like,
Smooth now.
It is Dr. Smooth now. Words just flow when he comes to welcome people, and it's a very frustrating thing. But it was so good to be back.
Yes.
I saw people lingering around in the parking lot, just wanting to see each other, wanting to say hey, wanting to be the body, and man, it's good.
Yeah, so for those of you that joined us on Sunday, it was great. It was great to get to see you, spend some time with you. I know some of you can't. You're not getting back out, and we get that as well. And just the whole mask thing and trying to deal with that, we'll just figure it out. We'll keep pressing forward and see what God has in store for us as well. What about you guys? Maybe make your comments on some of you all that connected in church. We'd love for you to do that. Throw it in on the Facebook feed right here. Make your comments. We'd love to be able to hear your thoughts on how things are going for you, gathering back to church or not gathering back to church, and things as well.
Or if you have any of those little goofy experiences, stories, like some of which we've shared up here, we'd love to hear those from you. It makes us feel better about ourselves. We're the only ones that these things happen to. We'd love to see like your family's pictures up on the youth group page on Facebook or on the children's ministry group. Man, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know what's going on.
Hey, Dave, there was back in the day, so back in the 80s-ish, 90-ish.
When you were a teenager and Missy was 7, 8 years old.
One of the little sketches on Saturday Night Live, and I'd catch that show every now and then. One of the sketches was Deep Thoughts with
Jack Handy.
Jack Handy.
Yes.
Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy. So we're going to have a little Deep Thoughts maybe with Lance and Dave here. Kind of a what you're thinking as well. So there's some things we've been reading and hearing lately. So jump us into this.
I ran across an article at the end of last week by a guy named J.D. Greer, who is the president of the Southern Baptist Convention. He's in his late 40s, like a Gen Xer. He's got about a dozen years on me, 11 years apparently on me. And he wrote an article last week called "Wake Up, Christian, This is God's Alarm Clock." Wake up, Christian, this is God's alarm clock. You ought to go check this thing out sometime. And the gist of it was this. He had been, I think, reading through this book John Piper put out called Coronavirus and Christ. And it's just an article about a renewed call to urgency in the church.
Yeah.
Just saying that basically it's time for us to wake up and start living with urgency again. So he grew up in a very similar time to you.
Yeah.
He references this question that would be asked all the time, like, if you were to die tonight, do you know where you would go?
Yes.
Or if the Lord were to return right now, like, do you know where you would be? Those sorts of things. Is that familiar language to you?
I mean, that question, I remember that question vividly as a young man in college, and then into my early ministry years. J.D. Greer was just about 3 years younger than I am, so some of the things he's referencing were very real to me as well.
Yeah.
And that question diagnostic question as you are presenting the gospel,
right.
Idea there, and so learning those things. Many of you all did that. So I wonder though, that question: if you were to die tonight, do you know what your eternity would be? Do you know where you would be after that? I wonder, is that still a I don't know if relevance is the right word, but I'm going to use that, a relevant question in evangelical Christianity now. I think it is, but it just feels awkward sometimes.
I grew up in a similar time frame. So like when they break down generations, I'm like the oldest of the millennials, just shy of being a Gen Xer myself. Yeah. And so we were still sort of the turn or burn questions. Yeah. If you were to die tonight, do you know, would you go to heaven? That kind of thing. Yeah. Like that was still around and still regularly asked. It's really just occurred to me, I think over the last few years, that my students, younger people, especially younger people these days, don't so much think in those terms. Okay. What's kind of hit me is especially younger people can be so locked into the present moment, as though no other era in history has ever happened, and no other time matters any more than this TikTok video that's in front of me right now. Okay. And be so locked into the 24-hour news cycle. Yeah. And just like the same social media and tech addiction that, look, it's not just the youth that are guilty of. Like it's kind of spilled over to all of us. Yeah. We live in such a way that our minds get so locked into the present moment. I think it's a worthy question to ask. Yeah. Are people losing? Are they losing the capacity to even think in more eternal terms? Okay. And where is all of this going, and what is this life going to amount to? Where am I going to go? What is the meaning of life? We can become so pigeonholed and locked into this present moment that we have no awareness of a life to come, or even just of the future. Yeah. And this is an interesting article to me. Yeah, as you say this thing, it seems that maybe I started to think the art of critical thinking is waning, or at least not giving as much focus on things because of that. You talk about that 24-hour news cycle. I mean, I think we kind of, sometimes it's easier to point to the younger generation and kind of say, well, this is their issue. But I mean, think about the news cycles that we're watching, the news stories that we watch. Right. They are designed to be 2 minutes at most on TV. And the most important thing that's ever happened. Yeah. And then we're supposed to make informed decisions about that. And that we, as in my generation, we have lived off of that for probably coming on decades now, and especially for the past several years, for sure. That's how the news is hitting us. Everything we should know and understand about how legislation is working, what decisions are being made budget-wise, what's going on in world events, what we should decide about those world events, all those things we should decide in a 45-second news clip. And we begin to live with that, or a 120-character Twitter feed that we see that throws us to an article that is only maybe a page long, but because I have to scroll for 3 times, it feels long. Oh, this is a long one, man. Some heavy reading today. And also that ability to critically think and grab more information. I know for me, I'm losing that habit, but I can remember it. Well, this is something in youth ministry that, in trying to get inside my students' heads, and where are they, and how are they thinking now? So J.D. Greer writes this: when was the last time you went to bed with Jesus' second coming on your mind, or got up in the morning with the thought, today might be the day? Yeah, Lance, I can remember as a teenager that mindset. Yeah, I can remember those thoughts at the end of the day, nighttime, as I'm laying my head down, going to sleep. Didn't own a phone, Like no device that I'm ending the day with. Like my day would just end often with me and the Lord. Yeah. And so I would be having these thoughts. My thoughts would be going. I've heard Ben Stewart in a sermon just ask this question: how many prayers have been lost because of basically all of our tech addiction, all the phones all the time? It's like every time. He said this in a day before kind of all these new traffic laws would come in, but he would just talk about when he'd pull up to a stoplight. And, at one time where it might have been in the course of a conversation with the Lord, but now it's like every time he stops, like, got to check and see, is there anything happening here? Okay, I'm ready to go again. Yeah. Or every little break in the day where we would have these moments where our minds and our hearts might be going off to the Lord and that personal time with the Lord. There's this draw. Yeah. There's this thing begging, demanding our attention in that every marginal moment that we've got. Yeah. And so then he goes on to say, when was the last time you went to bed with Jesus' second coming on your mind thinking it could be tonight? Or got up in the morning with the thought today might be the day? We're so frantically busy taking care of our daily needs that we never even think about it, much less make sure we're telling others about it. And then he says this, I don't think the coronavirus marks the end of the world, but this world does have an end. And so maybe the mistake that used to happen when we were growing up was people would get out there and try to set, like, this is the date. Here are the dates. So like the Soviet Union is the bear.
88 reasons why.
88 reasons why he's coming back in 88 or whatever the thing. Yeah. And we start worrying more about the when. Mm-hmm. We don't know when. Jesus is very clear to say that. But we do know that he's coming back. It's like this. I just found this to be a really pressing article, and like he kind of following John Piper is seeing this moment in the coronavirus maybe as an opportunity for Christians to wake up. He calls it God's merciful wake up call for us to get ready. Yeah. It's like, what are we living for? Yeah. What are we living for?
As we kind of talked about some of these things, even last week after we wrapped up this this webcast, that. We had some of that conversation about holding on to things, and that idea of holding on. Maybe we hold on too tightly as Christians to the things of this world. Yeah. We grab hold of those things too much. We chase after the things of the world too much and have somehow justified those things in our mind rather than holding more loosely to those. But it kind of begs the question then, what should we hold on to tightly?
Absolutely.
And then what do I need to more loosely hold on to, let go of as well? And so with that kind of this wake-up call there, maybe it's that the front and center. What do I got to have right now with me? And if that's not working, then move on to the next thing and hold tightly to the next news cycle, the next information that's coming at me rather than stopping and thinking.
And so I think it's a call for us to ask that question of what things really are worthy of our attention all the time. And I think it totally reframes our thinking. I just wanted to read just a few verses from 1 Corinthians 7. This is actually like a passage that's on marriage. Okay. But right in the middle, Paul says this. This I say, brothers, that the time has been shortened, so that from now on those who have wives should be as though they had none, and those who weep as though they did not weep, and those who rejoice as though they did not rejoice, and those who buy as though they did not possess, and those who use the world as though they did not make full use of it, for the form of this world is passing away. So the question of whether it's relevant or not, for us to think about the end is coming, and this world is not all there is. Yeah. Christians have been weighing in on this for 2,000 years. Yeah. Like this is the reality Paul was living in 2,000 years ago, that this world is passing away. Yeah. And I think it's a reality that we need to remind ourselves of, get back on board with, and remember. And maybe there's an act of God's grace in all of this, in the coronavirus, in the quarantine. Yeah. I think we're all realizing and remembering some things we have felt were so valuable. Are just not that valuable. Yeah.
If you kind of maybe think of both sermons that were preached
Right.
this past Sunday. Our pastor preached on the reality of the spiritual realm. And so I just want to reference those real quick. If you didn't get a chance to hear those, go back and hit our website and pull those up and listen to it. Josh on Sunday night preached a Romans 8 passage and just about how God is sufficient for us and is working for our righteousness, working for our justice,
right.
As well in the midst of these things. And so other great resources just to kind of be grounded in this idea of what should I hold tightly to, what I hold loosely to, and last as well. Hey, this J.D. Greer article, and I'm just going to put up here close to the camera where you can find this online if you want, and then I'll also at the bottom of this, I just hit
Did
the
you
button.
clear it?
I just cleared the button.
That's the funniest thing.
I just cleared the button. I just cleared my thing.
We'll come
I
back
tell
in
you what,
behind this and share it.
Yeah. I'll make sure
input
that
on
it's there at maybe at the bottom of the video that you're watching right now, as well.
Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed just a little bit of discussion we had today. We look forward to seeing you in worship again this Sunday, and we hope that coming up right here, you guys will enjoy this interview we had with our tech.
Great. Thanks much.
All right, I think this is a decent enough time for us to check in with the sound booth guys. Hey, guys in the booth, tech people. Oh, so good to see you.
Guys, thanks for letting us interrupt you as you get ready for another service, right?
Here we are.
So here we are. So, hey, we just want to check in with you guys and find out a little bit about what you're doing, who you are, the guys behind the scenes to the online worship services we're doing, and then the Ready Live service. So, Kevin, why don't you start? We want to hear your roles. What specifically do you do here in the sound booth?
What I do up here is get everything ready and out there for Facebook Live.
Okay.
So making sure the camera's where it needs to be, making sure that the audio mix is close to mostly okay, and letting it get out there. Facebook Live.
Okay, so you're the guy we should comment to if the sound's not working.
I'm
right?
assuming
Absolutely, yes.
Lance
Blow
is
up
putting
my
his
text.
cell phone number up right now. So you'll be able to comment on whatever's
You're
taking
welcome
place.
to.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Good.
The more feedback, the better we get.
Right.
Oh, how gracious of you. Vaughn, what's your role in the midst of all this?
Before this, and I guess now I'm the media coordinator for the church, so I've had the joy of coordinating folks to do this. During this time, this wonderful bunch has been gracious enough to come every Sunday or Saturday when we practiced, and then do the things that it takes to get this out. So what I do is to make sure that the sound equipment is ready and going for the band members and the singers that come up, and then make sure that it sounds level in the house and to them well enough that we can have that go to the Facebook Live, since that's where, other than the few of us in the room, that's what folks have been enjoying.
So I run the media, and media pertains to words, slides, videos that come through that are embedded in the live stream, just anything visual that you see on the Facebook Live, I am responsible for.
Well, and how about we take this kind of one by one? Vaughn, you're already touching on this. If you want to step back into that, how are things different in the sound booth right now for you guys than they were 2 months ago before we went into quarantine?
2 months ago, we would rotate through different people each Sunday, so we kind of distributed the load, and it was decided very well, and these guys graciously agreed to reduce the impact on us and our families, is to have us just take care of that during this time, and it's worked out well. We've had some new software things and some new things we've worked with. Some of the things as far as the room goes, obviously we wear the masks when we're up here, we wash our hands well when we handle the equipment down there, try to get ready before the band people show up, so everything's wiped down to make sure people are safe, and that's probably the biggest deal. We also brought the sound down in the house so we could hear Facebook Live better, and now we're in the process of trying to bring that back up so people that get to come, eventually we can have both. So it's been interesting challenge and some fantastic improvements that have come from this, especially in the media part, and the sound of Facebook Live is much better than it was before.
What's been some of the biggest challenge, maybe to start that, or the biggest addition to what is happening, because now the priority switched from in the house to the couch, if I can say it that way. So what's been the biggest switch? Julie, can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, so a really big piece, if you ever watched our live stream before, maybe because you were sick or something like that, you know that it looked a lot different. So actually after the first week, we upgraded to a brand new software presentation system, because the one that we had before wasn't going to be able to send words to the live stream like you see on the bottom of your screen when we're singing and things like that. So spring break, I, instead of being in Alaska, spent my time in this church building. I basically lived here, and we upgraded to a brand new system so that we could have all the great graphics and sound quality that you have now.
Well, Kevin, so you take care of the sound that people are hearing in their homes. What is difficult about doing that? How hard is that?
So prior to this whole thing, I was used to sitting at the big board and mixing for the house, like Lance has been talking about, or like Vaughn has been talking about. Now we're moving to me working from a feed from that board to a very small, well undersized, one would say, mixer, and then utilizing the great technology of the iPad to then take that mix and remix it so it goes out, and add to that this wonderful feature that Facebook Live does called a 10-second delay.
15, I think, isn't it?
It varies. I've had 10, I've had 12, I've had 15, I've had 20 some Sundays. Now we're just now at the point, I think this week will be good after making some changes last week, where I can pretty much mix live. So the first 5 weeks of this really was us figuring out how to get what we're hearing here sounding as close as possible to what the Facebook listeners would hear.
We're behind the scenes here. Yeah. So what are some of the things you would kind of go, you kind of laugh at now, or was a big oops or a big gaffe or a big funny that you kind of, anything along that line that you could kind of give us insight to there? And I'll throw that at any of you, because maybe one of you've got something real quick. So what about gaffes, bloopers?
So the very first week that we had a decision to be recognized, I realized just a little bit too late that I needed to have their picture ready to go up on the screen, because obviously things are very different now. And in the middle of the sermon, I was frantically trying to make sure I had that in, and accidentally clicked it up. And so you may not have noticed if you were a studious note taker, but there was about a 3-second period where a picture showed up over Doug, and it was probably the most horrifying 3 seconds of my life.
Felt like 20 seconds, huh?
A little bit.
Vaughn, I'm going to kind of change the path a little bit here. I want to ask you why do you do this? Why do you do what you do here week in and week out?
I didn't remember exactly what it was, but in Psalms 150 or so, it talks about praising the Lord and with instruments and cymbals and the different things like that. And that's what I hope to be able to do without distraction. Anytime you notice something that shouldn't be there, we do our best not to show that kind of stuff, but it's a chance to be able to praise the Lord in this place or Facebook with the quality that we can do the very best that we can.
I know what it's like as a worship leader from the front, trying to take care of your tasks in the course of the service, and then still find yourself participating in worship yourself. I'm curious more from the booth end. I don't ever really spend time up here in the booth. What is it as a worshiping Christian who's also tethered to a keyboard in front of you all the time? How does that work for you guys?
It is a really hard balance to find, because I'm keenly aware that everything I do has the opportunity to add to or distract from everyone else's worship. And so it can get really easy to be so focused on making sure everything's right and perfect that I lose track of the real purpose, and that's just God's people worshiping together. And I think Easter Sunday was kind of like my big wake-up call. We'd been going a couple weeks at this and got through about middle of the service, and I just like totally messed something up. I accidentally put in the wrong scripture for the sermon. I was like, oh my gosh, I ruined Easter. I can't ruin Easter, obviously. But in the moment, and just like in that moment, realized, first of all, it's not that big a deal. And second of all, like, I can't lead the people where I'm not going myself. So like we are also worship leaders here.
From the back.
And if we're not going to the Father in worship, we can't effectively take other people there as well.
I found that I have to compartmentalize that. Sometimes I have to be focused to make sure things are done. That's why it's also good to rotate people through this position so you can step back enough to be able to worship without being distracted by every little bit, that you can concentrate like you should on those things. I guess for me, certain songs or parts of them are easy to go to and everything's working well, and try to make sure that that's going. And then the preaching time is easy because as long as you've got the volume in the house well or on Facebook for the preaching, it's easy to pull down on that because there shouldn't be any distractions happening then. So
the key thing for me, and just echoing really what Vaughn and Julia have said, is this is our act of worship. Paul was not being blithe when he said, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. This is our act of worship. And on Sunday mornings right now, this is what God has tasked us to do. We're going to bring more people in. And I know everyone I've worked with up here, this is their act of worship, whether it's Engaged Sunday night or Sunday morning or whatever.
That's good. Well, guys, thanks so much for doing this with us. I feel like we've gotten a lot out of this, and I hope this has been a blessing to you guys watching from home as well.
Yeah, thank you, Julia, Kevin, Vaughn. Thanks a bunch.